You guys did not prepare me for the Summit War Saga at all. This is Watching One Piece. I'm Alex. In the last video, I had just watched Thriller Bark and give you guys my review and thoughts on it. So go and peep that video if you haven't already. But man, I just finished the Summer War Saga and wow. Just wow. I have so much to say about this saga. I feel so many things right now, both good and honestly a little bit of bad too. But let's just talk One Piece. Let me break down how I feel about each of these arcs and we'll maybe even rank them at the end. Before we get into it, go and subscribe and like this video. Also check out my other One Piece videos to catch up and kind of see what my thoughts were on the other sagas prior to this one. But let's go ahead and dive in. The first arc in this saga is the Sabaody Archipelago arc. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And man, so much happens here. I won't lie, when it first started, I was really not feeling it. It just felt a little bit slow for me in the first few episodes, but man, it does pick up like crazy. This is basically the huge setting off point to the Marineford arc and everything that comes later on in this saga, and it totally shows because honestly, I can't think of any time One Piece had me this glued to the screen in a setup arc. Right off the bat, we get introduced to so many people. Like, I'm talking a whole new roster of pirates and crews get dropped in this arc. And I don't love when One Piece usually just, dumps tons of stuff on us. However, this time Oda did not play. I think at least 8 or 10 new characters got dropped back to back. And it did feel overwhelming a little bit for sure. But I think after how kind of meh and nothing happened in Thriller Bark, I was 100% hyped for this whole kind of just dump of information on us. And I really didn't mind it at all. The big standouts here for me for sure were Kid, Law, and Rayleigh. I think were probably the ones that I had the most attention towards. I think definitely these guys are going to be huge impacts on the story moving forward, so that's exciting. The huge action scene here at the end that kind of separates our crew ultimately is also just insane. I genuinely thought a majority of our crew was gone in some way. The way Luffy acts when he feels like he's lost is honestly just so heartbreaking and kind of sets the tone for the entire saga really. Him losing in this first initial arc really sets up what my opinion is kind of the arc that the Straw Hats lose, really, or the saga in which they lose. And it's also really intense because at this point, we don't really know what Kuma's powers actually do and kind of how they work. So we kind of just assume that whoever gets touched by his hand gets deleted or killed or like evaporated. That's kind of the general assumption that everyone makes, or at least that's what I had. And the situation between Luffy and Kuma just had me super heartbroken because we finally see Luffy emotional, just everything. He's completely sobbing because in his head, he has lost everything. The entire crew is gone. And overall, I think the end of this arc really makes it hard to stop here. It does a good job of making you want to keep watching and continue forward. And then the next arc we get into here is the Amazon Lily arc, and this arc I think had a difficult task to follow up with the absolute insanity of the previous arc, and it also had to explain kind of just what the heck happened. While I do like this arc, I think it doesn't really do all of the things I wanted it to do well. It does pick up and continues with Luffy, and it does cut back to the other characters every now and then and kind of show us what they're doing, so it does confirm that they're still alive and that they're active and doing something. And I do know later episodes in the series do fill in more information, and I'm sure we're gonna get tons of backstory for the next 100 episodes on what these characters were doing while they were gone. I just wish we got kind of more scenes in general of tying everything together here. I just think it would have felt a little bit more impactful. The show has this weird thing where because they're so separated and kind of individualized in their own little islands and storylines, it almost feels like these characters are in their own little filler episodes kind of, because they're just not really impactful, at least yet in the series. But either way, we do get to meet Boa Hancock here in this arc, and I do really like her character. I think she does a good job at making us understand her, but also get why she might be aggressive to men being on her island and whatnot. This arc just really serves as a buffer arc from Sabaody Archipelago to Impel Down, honestly. It's pretty much just a pure transition arc. It also kind of transitions the story away from Luffy and our crew to more of just kind of a solo rescue mission for Ace. It also gives him some time to heal after the beating he got from Kuma previously. I think when Luffy does find out about Ace here, it is really interesting how he panics instantly, but back at Thriller Bark, dude did not seem fazed at all when he sees that Ace's card was on fire. Either way, this arc is fine. It's purely just a setup and transitional arc to kind of also introduce us to another warlord here. So that's fun. It's interesting. I did like the kind of refreshing, vibe that the new island does give, but overall I just feel like it was kind of slow and kind of chugged along. But we do get the huge movement here to Impel Down, and this arc, in my opinion, really sets things off for me. We get through so much here, and it really makes me want to go back and just watch it all over again. A bit like Sabaody Archipelago, where we get a lot of introductions here to new characters. Jinbei comes in, I think, is his full introduction here. Magellan gets introduced here, and Ivankov also gets introduced. We also get to see some of our old favorite characters as well come back. So Buggy comes back, and that's just, you know, I love seeing Buggy as a character. He's one of my favorites, so that made me really happy. We also get to see Mr. 3 and Mr. 2 alongside with Crocodile, so that was pretty awesome. I love seeing when our main character has to work together with previous villains. I just love seeing opposing sides forced to come together. So this whole arc was just awesome. I had a constant smile on my face the entire time. I think the whole meme of One Piece doing a drawing of a map and outlining the attack and everything is probably the most accurate meme for One Piece ever. Whenever you see this in One Piece, you know that this arc is about to be crazy long, but that's fine because Impel Down is just amazing. I loved it all the way through. Some really amazing fight scenes here and displays of power were shown. I'm very interested to see how Magellan becomes through the series and kind of how he comes back, because obviously he doesn't really die here. And they kind of show him as being unbeatable for a good portion of this arc, but obviously we know that when Blackbeard comes in, you know, he is scared initially of Magellan, but we do understand that Magellan gets taken down eventually. I also think the previous guard, I think it's like Shiryu or something like that, who was locked up, switching to Blackbeard's crew is super interesting for the future and kind of what that could entail as far as just having like an ex-Marine member on the pirate crew could be really interesting. Impel Down is overall really good. I could sit here and talk about it for a long time just because there's so many cool moments that happen here. I also feel like there's a lot of planted moments here too. Like there's tons of stuff that I'm sure is going to be paid off in 200 episodes or something that were probably first initially done here. I'm sure there's a lot of setup that was done here that I just don't even realize. So that's also really exciting. Like the easiest one here is Luffy surviving the poison attack. Like what does that mean moving forward? Is he immune to poison now? Is he just more kind of aggressive with poison? I'm not sure. That could be cool to see maybe if he takes on Magellan again, you know, in a future arc or something. And the huge twist of Blackbeard showing up was really cool. I wasn't honestly expecting him to show up in such a huge presence this early in the series. Well, I mean, we're not really this early in the series, but you get what I'm saying, right? I just didn't expect it to, to happen so quickly. And they have been teasing Blackbeard for so long, and the fact that he's like the big catalyst to Ace getting captured does make sense to why he would be here. And while we don't get a full Luffy versus Blackbeard fight, we do get to see them kind of throw hands a little bit, so that does hype me up for when, we potentially see them go head to head later on. Overall, the escape from Impel Down is for sure up there with Enies Lobby as one of the best arcs in One Piece. It would have been my favorite if Marineford didn't exist. Marineford is officially my favorite arc in One Piece. Hands down, this arc is just so amazing and managed to do everything I think an anime arc needs to do, basically perfectly. I genuinely love this arc so much. The action here is easily the best the series has offered up to this point. Not a single arc honestly even comes close. Enies Lobby and even Impel Down were both awesome, but this arc is just on a completely different level. It just feels so insane that this is the follow-up to Impel Down, because Impel Down was obviously really great, right? But then it gets even better. Like, it's just crazy that the fact that we're getting so much good content so quickly here, that's just really exciting. We also do get obviously some of the most sad One Piece moments here as well. This arc in general has a lot of emotions and just heart in it entirely, so that was just really kind of refreshing to see such an action-packed arc filled with so much emotions too. It kind of reminds me of a really early arc like Arlong Park, where there's so much tears being shed, but then also hands being thrown at the same time. And obviously the biggest kind of heartbreaking moment here is Ace dying, which is just insane. One Piece teased Ace back in Alabasta and had been kind of building him up since then, but also did a great job at making Ace feel like he, could escape. So for him to die in this battle, I think really raises the stakes for One Piece moving forward. It is for sure a huge wake-up call that our crew really needs to get more powerful to even compete with some of these admirals. And on topic of the admirals, the way Luffy just effortlessly jumps into battle against them is just insane. I love that Luffy just without a thought is willing to risk everything for Ace. And in turn, we get some of the most heartbreaking moments, seeing Luffy literally collapse and basically be frozen once Ace dies. And then also just the insane, just kind of like, oh my god, like, it's just making me sad even thinking about it, when he cries out to everyone for help, for someone to help him, and everyone's kind of like, bro, like, dude got a hole in his body, we really can't fix that, which is crazy. I do kind of wish maybe some characters tried to help. It seemed like no character was willing to even attempt to help or rescue Ace or anything like that, as far as, try to heal him or anything, which seemed kind of interesting because Ivankov healed Luffy when everyone thought Luffy was for sure dead. So it just would have been interesting, or at least kind of, I don't know, I feel like I would have liked to have seen someone do something, Overall, Ace dying did actually a really good job at humanizing Luffy. Up to this point, Luffy had always kind of been smiling, and yeah, he got rough and whatever, and threw hands when he needed to. But seeing him cry and be so upset in Sabaody Archipelago, and then kind of jump to this point where he is just completely devastated, like he's lost his crew, he's lost his brother. This entire saga has made Luffy seem like a lot more of a human person rather than just a constantly happy main character with no issues, right? It really made me feel for Luffy, and I honestly don't think I've felt for a main character like this in such a long time. Even characters like Naruto, I think, have like a shield over them, like they get sad and whatnot, but seeing the way Luffy just continuously loses, but then gets back up to try again, but then keeps losing in this entire saga just really hits home. I could honestly make a whole video just on Marineford and Ace, but to keep it short, it was one of the most effective emotional anime scenes I've ever seen, period, no contest. but I don't think it was done perfectly. See, the moment when Ace walks away and then turns around when Whitebeard is disrespected just completely devalued his death, in my opinion. Like, sure, he's honoring Whitebeard by turning around and, getting upset or whatever, but that's just not what Whitebeard would have wanted, and obviously was not the smart choice, as we saw it cost him his life. I just feel like seeing him kind of go out in an actual full-on brawl, 1-versus-1 head-to-head, matchup, versus him just being mad and getting like stabbed through the back, or punched through the back rather, it just makes him kind of look incompetent. Like, I don't know. Either way, again, I could go on, and I'm not trying to say that it's done bad. I just feel like it could have been done a little bit better. And just because everything is done so well in this entire section of the show, I feel like this death could have been done a little bit better. That's just me. It still really is impactful, and again, it is still one of my favorite moments. I just didn't love how it was kind of set up. A few other notes here. First off, fuck anime. Just as a genre, literally fuck anime. The episode where Ace looks like he's going to die, but it ends at a cliffhanger, and it's kind of like just this huge question of what happened to Ace. Did he die, or is he alive? Is he going to make it? Like that whole thing, right? And it ends at a cliffhanger. Literally the next episode, the first few seconds, the announcer's like, with the death of Ace, like, it's just like, dude, like, I can't.
Looking for the answer. Fire Fist Ace dies on the battlefield.
Like, it's so frustrating because old animes do this a lot. One Piece does this, Naruto did this, and Dragon Ball did this. So thankfully it doesn't seem like it's anything that a lot of modern anime are doing. But dude, when are we gonna, I would hope new One Piece episodes, because obviously there's still One Piece going on, I would hope the new ones don't do this anymore, just because it's so bro, let me watch the show. Like, let me see what's happening, Either way, that's that. We do get our first and last taste of Whitebeard. Pause. I honestly was just amazed the entire time here with Whitebeard. From the huge betrayal we get from one of his captains was just insane. Like, that had me on the edge of my seat, to just Whitebeard's powers being shown in its full force, really. It's just insane. It really shows what level these other crews are at. Again, I don't know how Luffy's crew, what is Usopp gonna do with a crew like Whitebeard's? It's just like, these guys are on a completely different level, Also, I just want to put it here, I am so pissed off at Garp. I think I genuinely hate the Garp character at this point. He had so many chances to help or change the situation and didn't. And the flashbacks showing him kind of caring for Ace and Luffy when they were kids didn't help at all. It honestly made me super frustrated with him way more. I'm finding it really hard to like Garp after this arc. I just feel like he failed as a father figure, and then also failed with his promise to Goldie Roger. Like, I don't really know where his loyalty lies. Like, obviously he's loyal to the Marines more than he is loyal to Ace and Luffy, because he's willing to let Ace die, right? My question is why? Why is he so loyal to the Marines? Like, I get it. He thinks being the Marine is a good thing or something like that. But I don't know. I'm sure Garp knows it's not as cut and dry as Marines good, Pirates bad. There's a lot more going on than just that. I just wish he had done something, and I wish he didn't just let things happen. I just have a huge disdain for the Garp character right now. But on the exact opposite of that, I do love seeing Shanks. Shanks was awesome. I love seeing him pull up at the end. It's just, again, a little frustrating. Why did he show up at the very end? The fact that he does show up and kind of concludes the battle is really interesting. It's also kind of crazy the way the Marines just as soon as he pulls up, the admirals are like, all right, let's stop. Shanks is here. We can't fight no more. Like, the fact that Shanks pulling up is what stops the battle really makes me wonder why. Why does the government and the Marines and the admirals care so much about Shanks? Because Whitebeard was on that same level of god tier pirate, right? And they didn't think twice about throwing hands with Whitebeard, but Shanks pulls up and it's a completely different story. So I'm just really interested in Shanks and seeing more of him. Also seeing Law was super cool. I'm hoping we get more information on him and his crew, because right now my only knowledge of him is through the Jump Force video game. By the way, check out my video essay on why Jump Force failed here. It's an awesome video, one of my favorite videos, and also my most viewed video, so check that out. We also obviously get the huge moment of Blackbeard pulling up and killing Whitebeard, but then also taking his Devil Fruit power. So we get a first look at someone with 2 Devil Fruit abilities in one, and that's just wild. Again, it kind of just further shows that Luffy and his crew really need to step it up to even get on the same level as these other crews. Overall, just so much happens in Marineford. It truly is just amazing. I can't even begin to explain how good this arc is and how well it develops the story moving forward. I love it. I can make a whole video on this one arc, on every arc, honestly, in this thing I can make a video on. Really left me kind of, shocked. My jaw was on the floor by the end of this arc, honestly. And then after the Marineford arc, we get the post-war arc, which is kind of like just the wrap up. It is literally what it says it is, a post-war arc. And here we kind of get a lot of nods to kind of what's going to be coming next with One Piece and kind of where things are ending here. We also get Jinbei and Blackbeard leaving as warlords, so that's kind of crazy too. We're kind of in this weird position where the Marines are kind of losing ranks, but then they also lose Gecko Moria, so they're obviously wanting to fill in people that are more powerful. We also get a lot of setup here with characters in the Marines switching positions and switching roles patrols. Smoker is being transferred to a new location in the New World, so we'll probably see him later on too. And basically the next thing here is everyone's just heading to the New World. That is the next thing here. That was the huge thing we got before, where everyone was trying to get to the Grand Line. It looks like the next level up now is the New World, so that's going to be really interesting. I know that's where a bulk of the current One Piece story is currently at right now. And we also get a huge chunk of flashbacks here with Luffy and kind of how he met Ace, and also we get flashbacks to Saba, which I know is a character that comes later on too. So that is just really cool. I kind of wish we got these flashbacks like super early, like in Alabasta or something, honestly. It just seems like right now it's kind of hard to care about Ace because he's gone already. So it just kind of feels like we're just kind of treading old waters at this point. And Sabo seems really cool. Obviously, I know he comes in later, but the fact that he's just kind of not shown yet does kind of feel a little awkward. Like, why are we showing this character, 10 plus years ago, but then he's really not here right now? So that is interesting. But overall, I did like the flashbacks there. We also get to see that Kuma was with Dragon and Ivankov as a revolutionary. So that's interesting. We also get kind of some more information on the fact that Kuma realistically was trying to help out the Straw Hat Pirates while they were in Sabaody Archipelago. Like, he was punching them and slapping them away to kind of get them away from the Marines rather than to kill them. So it's this weird thing where he's actually a good guy, kind of playing a double agent kind of thing, because he is kind of a robot and so much stuff. I'm just super interested to see what the whole thing is with Kuma and kind of his backstory too. And then we obviously get the huge ending here that the entire crew, instead of meeting up within 3 days as planned, will instead take 2 years off to train individually and then come back together, obviously after 2 years after they've been training, so they can get more powerful and kind of compete in the New World. Because like I said, currently where the Straw Hats are at right now, they're just nowhere near ready to compete. So the fact that they're openly acknowledging that and kind of taking time to train, I think is really cool. And obviously the huge training that he gets here is from Rayleigh, so that's cool because he's obviously going to get hockey and all these different abilities from that, which is really interesting. Overall, the post-war arc does wrap up things pretty nicely. Obviously, we do get to see all of our other crewmates like Frankie, Robin, Brooke, and everyone else go on their own and kind of train with their respective different groups and different islands and whatnot. So that is also really cool. Overall, I love One Piece right now. This Summit War Saga is easily the best saga in all of One Piece. Like, as of right now, there's no contest. It's the best one. I think it really does a good job at starting itself up there with the Sabaody Archipelago arc and then kind of continuing forward, and even just brushing through what Impel Down and Marineford does for the story is insane. But the fact that we get it all back to back is just awesome. I can't even begin to speak on how much I love this saga. Hands down, it's better than every other saga in One Piece. If I had to rank these arcs, I'd probably put Amazon Lily at the bottom. I just think it's easily the weakest one. And then I'd probably put Post-War arc above that, just because it's a little bit better, but not that much better. And then Sabaody Archipelago above Post-War, then Impel Down, and then Marineford at the top. I think Marineford's obviously and easily the best one. Impel Down does a lot of great things and is really interesting in its own right. It just doesn't compete with Marineford. Either way, I'm super excited to see what happens with our crew here. We're jumping into the New World, so this is like the huge moment for me too, because I think the current story of One Piece is in the New World right now. So the fact that we're kind of jumping into that and I'm getting closer to catching up to everyone is really fun. Overall, I love this saga and all these arcs are just amazing. I'm super excited to see what comes next. Obviously, I think the next big saga is the Fishman Island saga. I haven't heard too much about that, so I'm interested to see how that goes. I'm loving One Piece. I'm officially a huge One Piece fan. One Piece at this point is on the same level as my favorite anime, which is Naruto. That's just my favorite one, just because that's the first one I watched. And One Piece is for sure on that same level. It's amazing. I don't have any huge negative things to say about it. I love the show. I think if the show keeps moving forward at the pace that it's been moving at, I'm gonna be super excited. So go ahead and like and subscribe on this video. That means the world to me. I work a ton on these things, so that is definitely appreciated. And you can go ahead and click right here to watch whatever video this is, and you can go ahead and click here to watch whatever video that is. And thanks for watching all the way to the end. I truly appreciate it, and have a good one.